What's up, guys? This is our second podcast. Today I'm here with Bailey
Hello.
and Eli.
What's up, everyone?
Cool. All right, and today we're going to be talking about three things. Three things are on the agenda. We'll see how time allows, but we have planned The Last Jedi, the Xbox One X, and gambling loot boxes in games. We're going to try and hit all those subjects. If you want to skip ahead to any of them, I'm going to have them in the descriptions below. And if one's missing, it's because we just don't have it. Or if there's an extra one, it's because we added one. We don't have anyone here today, but if you are interested in taking part in this in your own way, if you join our Patreon and support the channel, the lowest tier already gets for $1 a month. Is it $1 a month? They might have upped it where you have to do $5.
Maybe I haven't seen anything about that.
I still have a basic support for $1 a month. Okay, so for $1 a month, you can get access to our Discord channel, which allows you to participate in the podcast text chat, and at the same time, you'll be able to listen to us live. For $1 a month, so $12 a year. Would recommend it as someone who is deal. Here. Isn't it so great to be here?
I feel
anyway. All right.
I like being here occasionally.
I do too. Occasionally, though, it's like visiting your parents. You just kind of you can only take so much. Comes from a real place, people.
All right. Let's jump in. We're talking about The Last Jedi.
Oh boy.
Oh boy,
I'm
indeed.
kind of scared. I don't know which side to join, the light or the dark.
I mean, seriously.
It's such it's such like a controversial movie.
It really is, especially with the way the director took it, because he wrote it as well, surprisingly.
Right. Do you think that was for the worse or the better? Do you think it should have had other writers?
Well, it did have. I mean,
Wait,
it has
just one writer.
No, well, it wasn't just him, but he contributed to the story. If you look at the credits, it says written and directed by Rian Johnson, and that sort of took me aback. I was like, oh, okay. And it kind of reflects it in the film, especially with the writing.
So in J.J. Abrams in The Force Awakens, he didn't help in the writing of it?
I'm sure he did. It's just that with Rian Johnson, I mean, have you guys seen Looper at all?
No.
I have not.
Okay, it's his style is super, it's unique in a sense, but it just, I guess I mostly judge the film based off the fact that it said it was written by him, and the way that the writing was, I wasn't really captivated.
Right.
It was just really different.
Yeah, I mean, the story was good, but the writing was, kind of so-so.
All right, so let's hit the major points.
Yeah.
I think music was stellar.
Yeah, of course, always John Williams.
The visuals were still stellar. Shots were great. Characters, I think everyone played really well. Yeah. I loved.
Should we spoiler alert before?
Yes. So spoilers ahead. Oh, actually, let's give a quick I think it's worth the watch. Of course, everyone's gonna watch it anyway. Who am I kidding?
No, I agree that I personally really enjoyed the film. I have my issues with it, of course, but overall,
I'd recommend a
good
second watching as well. A second and third watching helps to understand a lot of the loopholes.
Well, darn it, I've only seen it once.
Well, then your opinion doesn't matter here.
Then leave and come back.
No, everyone's equal here.
Mm-hmm. I'd see it. Okay, spoilers alert.
Yes, spoilers alert.
Spoilers ahead. Spoiler alert. Snoke dies.
Should we talk about that first? Should we talk about Snoke just right off the bat?
Dude, I can't believe
is
he's
there
gone.
anything to talk about?
Exactly.
I wanted more.
Okay.
It's the fact that I wish there was.
I really was hoping that they were going to explain a lot more about his character in this.
Right.
And then he just gets killed off. And personally, that really upset me. Because he's such an interesting character that they added to the story.
Right?
Because
he's our new Fett. He's our new Fett.
he's a new player in this idea of the Force, and I mean, of course, like the Emperor before, Supreme Leader Snoke. It's sort of that same premise, but his there's no backstory. We really don't know where he comes from. We don't know really who he trained under, and he can use like
that was
force
like the
lightning.
interesting
So
part.
I feel like that's important to talk about.
Oh my god, yeah, he's ridiculously powerful.
I can see that the direction they took it was that his, after everything, after how interesting his character was, it doesn't matter because even how powerful and mysterious he was, he could still be taken down by Kylo.
Right, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty great part, because I also wanted to talk about Kylo a little bit. What'd you guys think of his little monologue at the end when he was talking about, let it all die?
Right. I wouldn't say that.
Past die, even if you have to destroy it or something.
Man, he was so on track. Just up until that, like, and we can rule the world together. No!
So
why would you say that?
Exactly. It's like, it felt like he was making sense. I was totally following what he was saying, and I was basically agreeing with him that, let the rebels, let the, the Sith, let the Order die, and just let's just let it all fall. And I was like, hey, that's a good idea. And I thought that they were going to start moving towards...
And then they didn't.
I thought they were going to start moving towards the gray storyline of the Force. And then he just says, let's join together and start a new world. And I'm like, no.
He pulled Darth Vader at the very end.
I was a little upset about that.
But at the very least, we have a very, as a character, he's great. He now is in a position of power. We have a very interesting, not very black and white leader for the dark side.
And I mean, referring him as supreme leader, as you saw, in the...
Which still feels a little off. Like, he has yet to fill those shoes.
Yeah.
I feel like.
It was pretty dark, though. Like, the whole scene with, like, how there was different interpretations of what happened when Luke was trying to slay him.
Right.
So I mean, I think he has good motives for, like, saying, like, oh, F the rebels, F the First Order, and let's just make something
relatively good. I mean,
seriously.
Best would be, like, let's not fight the rebels and then just, like, meet up and talk about it, and
let's talk about it over coffee, something like
that. Yeah, that would have probably been the best approach.
I mean, it's really hard to interpret all of this, in the sense that, like, they killed off so many planets.
Yep.
And I don't know, there's just so much that went on that we can't really even comprehend, like Snoke, for example, what we were talking about. And it's just, it kind of, so much of the movie, even though I enjoyed it, it left me dumbfounded at the same time.
Like, where are they possibly going? I feel so bad for J.J. Abrams right now. I feel so too. Like, what is he going to do?
I know. Well, I mean, I'm glad he's coming back for the next movie, though. I thought he did good with The Force Awakens. I am. So that's why I thought,
think he did really well.
It's a good idea to see the movie a second time, because I personally did feel dumbfounded after watching it. And watching it a second time, I knew it was going to happen. I knew the twists and turns, and I was able to really step back and sort of analyze it from a film perspective.
Right.
And I kind of, like, tried to follow certain characters, why certain development was this way, and they tried to, like, fit a lot of character development in a very short amount of time.
He did. There was a ton of conflict between the characters. You saw this interesting dynamic between Luke and Rey. You find an interesting dynamic between Kylo and Rey. It's all around Rey. You find this interesting dynamic between Poe and Rey.
Yeah. Between Finn and Rey, between Finn and Rose, between oh my gosh. And I also thought the whole what was it? It's the Poe's character development didn't feel fleshed out enough, to be honest. Yeah. It just, the whole part, it felt like I wanted to, why don't you choose me as leader? And Carrie Fisher was like, you're just a hothead, and he didn't, like, develop himself. He tried to take over the fucking ship.
It was a learning experience for him. Like, sure, we didn't, like, get to see 2 dimensions of him. He still he stayed 1 dimension, but we see that he's gonna have to develop a 2nd dimension.
That's true.
He's gonna have to stop being a hot-headed person. Yeah. Like, I mean, granted, it's hard to, like, see what he could have done better. I feel like that girl could have just said the plan to him. I feel like he's earned it by this point.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Like, that would have been the easiest thing. I still blame her for that. He would have been like,
oh, okay, cool, we're going to a planet to be safe. That sounds like a good idea.
Right.
I just, like, there's some pieces of the writing that just feel, like, confusing. Like, I mean, one of the best examples...
maybe he still would have, like, if he'd had learned that information and then still decided
Yeah.
I'm gonna go blow up that ship and like sneak in and all that. Then yeah, he's disobeying orders, but he doesn't like have orders. He's just to
he
chill.
Doesn't know what's going on. He's literally left in the dark, and he thinks that they're just gonna run out of fuel and die. And I can understand his character when he does that.
Yeah, I can't blame him. I didn't feel like. I mean, he learns to trust blindly.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, I sided with him on that.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I can see what he was trying to get at. And I like that it was development. It was a lot of development. Finn learned this, like... Finn has been learning all these different sides of the war.
Yes.
He grew up with not the Empires, the First Orders.
Yep.
Then he learned the Rebels, and now he's learning the business, I guess.
Yeah, because you can tell, because there's a whole part where he was like, he would, especially that scene where he was going to fly into the base bomber or whatever it was at the near the end of the film.
At the very end,
it was
sacrifice
like
himself.
he was going to sacrifice himself, and then like Rose helped his development by saying like, you know, we need to save the people we love, and it was that was really confusing to me. I mean, I understand the premise they were going for, but like, how does that refer to Finn in a sense? Is it because
he was saving the people he loved? Wasn't that what he was doing?
That's what I thought.
Trying to keep them from getting in.
Yeah, like he was trying
Lord
to.
Sidious from the dead was just like, yes, do it, drive right into it,
do it.
Maybe you never know, man.
And then Finn ends up not going in. The Emperor's like, blew it.
Yeah, I thought that would have honestly. I mean, like, this sounds bad, but I honestly wouldn't have felt like... I mean, I would have felt sad, but it would have been interesting if they had let Finn fly into the bomber.
Right. And it would have been a fairly satisfying ending for him. And
I feel like so as well. But, I mean, I would have been like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
But I think that overall, I like Rose's character. I mean, hold on. What do you guys think of Rose's character, actually? I want to hear your guys' opinion.
She starts out as the plumber... and then becomes the ace pilot.
I guess so. What do you think?
That was my biggest... Like, why did she suddenly get promoted? Especially after this, like, whole, like, oh, we're back with the failed plan to
once you join
sneak
the
aboard the
A-team,
ship.
man, like, you're a part of the A-team. There's no going back. You get all kinds of promotions.
Seriously, dude.
Seriously.
No, it was funny, though, because, like, that, like, looking at the story and being like, oh, they're going to go get a hacker and try and stop the ship. That didn't help. That whole part literally could have been cut out because...
He ripped them off!
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I still fucking love that hacker guy. Benicio del
I know,
Toro
it was so
owned
great.
And the whole film's... I mean, okay, so the whole overarching premise of the movie is the balance, I think. Is, you know, light and darkness, you know, good and bad. And I think that, like, the hacker character is sort of the Lando Calrissian character of our generation, and I think he played it really well, and I hope to see him in the next movie.
Right.
So I think
my biggest issue with this is Ryan, right? That I keep forgetting the director.
It's Ryan Johnson. Yeah.
Ryan took a lot of risks when he did this. He made characters making very important decisions that would end up failing. And he ended up with a lot of characters dying. Like, a lot of important things happened here that were very much along a dramatic sense. And when you do that, you end up with a lot of room for different impressions of what happened. The Force Awakens, which was The Force Awakens, Rogue One was a little closer to this in the sense that it also had important decisions, but we knew what was happening.
Yeah.
The Force Awakens was very much, it was eye candy. Well, everyone was doing.
I hate to bash
on
it,
what everyone was doing made
same...
sense. Because it was black and white, people were doing good. Yes. And the people you wanted to live were living, and the people that seemed like they might die probably died. Yes. And we had a new bot. Like, it was expected, but I wanted it, and I loved it. This one did a lot of unexpected things. It killed the guy we were interested, Snoke. Yeah. Like, everyone wanted to know who Snoke was, and then we don't.
I still do. Like, what? I still want to know who that fucker is.
Yeah. Man. And Poe made some bad decisions. And
aren't there some fan theories,
Luke
though, that like, he wanted Kylo to kill him?
Is there? I haven't heard about those.
Did not look like.
He looked very upset when he got stabbed in the side.
Yeah.
He got lightsaber.
He looked very sad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, his dead face
say
at
I
that
doubt
one
that.
scene. I felt like that was uncalled for. Seeing his like dead face with his tongue hanging out and his eyeballs all
Yeah.
wonky. I was a little taken aback by that.
I still think he's the stormtrooper that hit his head.
And he just got force powers. Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite.
yeah, he's
theory.
that one trooper that's been there for like a very long time. So he's just
Right.
like that very old guy that eventually got hit on the head.
Oh yeah, and then there's that. We mentioned this last podcast.
That one guy who
Colin
stands out.
Yeah, Colin mentioned the theory that he thinks the guy who like stood up near the end and like brought out the binoculars, on that the battle as the battle is beginning on the Salt Planet. Colin noticed that guy had two. First off, he like looked very old and grizzled, but then he also had two pistols. Colin thinks that guy's Rex, which would be totally cool, and it probably will never be like a confirmed thing, but it'd be a nice little nod, like, oh, maybe
That would
that's
be kinda
Rex.
Cool. That would be a really cool nod.
Yeah, and when he explained his like odd like moment.
Yeah, I just thought Ryan Johnson just kind of like make it super obvious for us what was going on, and like I just thought it was funny. I saw a post and I totally agree with it, where someone was saying that the scene where the guy steps out and then the guy like touches the red salt and licks it and says it's salt.
Right.
It's like, we get it, Ryan. It's not Hoth. We know it's not. Come on, man. Like, we get it.
Oh man.
Because it looks, it's kind of reminiscent of that, the
Right.
early movies.
So, we're approaching 15 minutes here for talking
Right.
on this subject. So,
But
It's
there's
got
so
a lot
much
of-
more.
there's
I
so
know,
much
there's
more.
so much you
More.
could talk about, like the good and the bad, the good and the ugly,
There's
man.
so many good, and I would recommend looking at for those watching, check out like Level Capped has a really good video he did of just like he rattled off 60 plot holes that he found after watching it.
And personally, if anybody hasn't seen it, go see it. Honestly, judge it for yourself. I
Yeah.
personally think it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I have my quarrels with it, but I like the Star
Right.
Wars movies, and I think they're doing a great job.
And it has plenty of loopholes, like bombs that suddenly. Well,
Potholes.
actually, we're talking to spoilers, people. So either we're talking to people that are okay with spoilers, which I don't know many, or everyone's seen the movie.
Exactly, that's true. Still, hey,
It
if you've
has
seen it
one-
once, go see it again. You know,
Go see
I
it
don't-
again. That's our spiel.
It's good to see it again.
It
Oh,
also
boy.
has
Alright.
like one of the quietest scenes of any Star Wars movie.
Oh man, that was so good.
It was good until kids in the theater were like, what happened to the sound? And I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Did people?
Quiet.
Did kids say
Shut
that
up.
in the theater?
I'll kick you out of the movie
Oh,
theater.
Kids are like,
man.
what happened to the sound? And I was like, no.
Just,
Oh,
I
that's
will
horrible.
murder you where you sit, child.
Oh my
God.
goodness.
Kids
Other
nowadays
than that,
don't
was pretty
appreciate
good.
Star Wars anymore. These
My
millennials, man.
These millennials. I had a bit of a gripe with wait, we can now hyperdrive any large object and destroy other
I thought
large
that was
objects.
awesome, man. That was the coolest scene in the movie. I mean, no
That
joke.
this movie adds so many different aspects of like battle. Like if you can like just light speed your way through enemy ships, it's like who
Mhm.
says it's like that's just not going to continue to happen.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what, like, it was funny because, like, early on watching the Star Wars movies, I actually wondered, like, hey, what happened if you, like, drove through another ship at light speed?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
the
seeing
thing is
I
that was
totally
addressed.
fanboyed. Yeah, was
Um,
it?
It was. We've seen in previous movies when a ship tries to. Excuse me. When ships they never do it. They're always like, "Can we hyperjump?" Like, no. And typically, what's said is they will instantly vaporize, and we actually
Okay.
see that in some movies when, like in Rogue One, when the Vader's ship like warps in. A
Oh,
lot of the
yeah.
fighters that were trying to warp out at the time. Speaking of,
Right.
why did Poe's ship have to reboard the ship? We know it can go hyperdrive. That was another loophole.
Yeah. God damn, so many loopholes, man.
Yeah.
The whole casino
Um,
scene was just a fucking,
Oh my god.
That was a
that
wreck.
was so weird.
in my opinion.
Hmm.
I can understand how it was supposed to introduce the character that's probably going to be major in the next movies, but it just it went on for too long.
it went on for way too long. It was trying to come up with like some really boring moral lesson, like, oh, the rich people are bad. Don't trust corporations. Which is honestly a little black. Yeah, it was trying to introduce a gray issue into a black and white universe by introducing another black and white issue.
It's so like, meta.
Rich is bad and good is being a minority and saving animals.
I don't know. The part that really got me was the fact that he was in a jail cell. He could have gotten out at any fucking time, and he decided to leave when 2 other people showed up for no reason.
Let me prove a point.
All right,
wait till I can prove.
I'm just gonna take a nap in here, and then leave when I want to.
Should we talk like favorite scenes at least?
Sure. Well, I would say let's talk favorite scenes.
2 more minutes. We have 2 more minutes.
We'll talk about something else. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Who wants to go first?
All right. Well, my favorite scene is when Chewbacca and Ren go to. Wait.
You say Ren?
My bad. Not Ren.
Take your time.
Not Kylo. I mean Kylo. Kylo and Rey were kind of both there because they touched hands but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, when Chewbacca's at the campfire and he's kind of eating a bird.
Oh, did you guys hear about how?
That was great. I love that
part. Quick little tidbit before we end. Did you guys hear about why there are porgs in them? Like why those came to being?
To sell merchandise?
No, not at all.
I thought it was a good idea.
So, I mean, at once it was discovered, like, oh my god, these are so cute.
Yeah.
Let's make money off them. But no, that wasn't why they were introduced. So they had a horrible issue when they were shooting on the Skillies. Problem with that island, and they wanted to shoot on the island because J.J. Abrams decided to film there for his thing. The issue with that island, though, it is absolutely covered in puffins.
Oh,
like every inch has puffins on it.
That's awesome.
And they were protected. They're a protected species.
They're a delicacy, man.
So
wait. Oh, never mind.
So they couldn't touch these puffins. Like they couldn't move them for the sake of the set, which meant they had 2 options. They could either like edit them out of every scene, or they could paste over these porgs, these CG porgs. And apparently CG awesome. Porgs was the cheaper option.
That's fucking amazing, dude.
So yeah, every time you see a porg,
that's the case, I don't mind it that much anymore.
I was about to say, that's awesome actually that they did that.
I mean, obviously they rolled with it because then we start seeing them in the Falcon.
Dude, and then like merchandise, that's like a win-win. They don't hurt an animal and they get to sell stuffed toys. Disney is making bank.
So that was like, it brought a new spin on the movie to know that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's a fun little tidbit. They also brought in a new BB-8, the Order version, to try and sell like, the robotic again.
Oh yeah, I saw that at Target.
You saw? I see.
Oh my goodness.
God damn it. All right, Rip, what's your favorite scene?
I'm gonna be quick. Favorite scene would probably be. Oh man, I had so many. It'd have to be either. A lot of the times with Luke, I loved the whole Luke and Rey thing. I thought like the whole. You feel that? Yeah, I feel it. It's the Force.
Slapped her hand with the. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that and I liked the Kylo and Rey interaction with like. Nice. Those were kind of general, but I like those. I thought those were the most interesting things, and those really made it like worth watching for me.
That's fair enough.
All right, you got like Kylo 15 seconds.
All right, my favorite scene is with Yoda because that's the best part in the whole fucking movie.
Oh my god!
I totally forgot.
I changed my answer.
How could you forget Yoda? Dude,
that was the best scene.
Dude, I fucking like almost shit my pants. I was so happy.
Read the books you have.
Read the books.
Oh yeah, I read the page turners. They were not.
It wasn't fucking CGI. It was puppet. It was classic.
It was puppeted.
It just felt so proper. Right. It was just my favorite scene.
It was so good. It felt so Star Wars. Okay, if we're talking like nostalgia, that and like R2 showing like the
oh my god,
the
that
Leia
scene too.
That like
Leia.
That was good. I got the feels.
I got all the feels, man. That movie just fucking.
And I like that they're tying it like to the original series. Like,
yeah, because
kids won't. Yeah, kids can still appreciate the original series because of all these tie-ins.
Yeah,
I think.
Agreed.
And I feel like they're also trying to wrap up everybody's storyline.
Right. All right. So we've.
So they can prep it for the new.
Yeah,
generation.
we're moving on. We're moving on. Sorry. We're at 23 minutes, and we are.
Hey, less time than last.
Is it weird if mine says 26 minutes?
Mine says 26, by the way.
I started it when we actually started the podcast.
Got it. That makes sense.
Recording.
Yeah, mine says 26. So
cool.
Not a timer.
Bada bing, bada boom.
All right.
Swiggity swooty.
All right, guys, we're gonna talk about the Xbox One X now.
Dun dun dun.
Oh boy.
The Xbox One X.
Bailey, do you own an Xbox One?
So what?
Oh, I was asking Bailey if he owns an Xbox One. I know you don't.
No.
Once upon a time, I owned an Xbox 360 that
Hey,
I lost
sold that.
several years of my life to.
Who did?
Lost? You'd say you lost it?
I won.
Game.
My life was complete when I found the Xbox.
Absolute fulfillment.
Absolute
seriously.
fulfillment.
I'm gonna pull up the page
actually.
for it again. I gotta pull up the pages again for Xbox One. And
If I remember, the prices were $500, right? $500
Yep.
for the Xbox One, and then
I don't know, man.
basically
look at those
$400
bundles.
$400 for the PlayStation Pro. The Xbox One X, it doesn't grab. I know it doesn't grab
those
Eli so much.
graphics, though, man. Those fucking graphics.
Bailey, what do you think about the Xbox One X?
Don't
it
let
has
the graphics fool you.
Bringing it back.
yeah.
Let's see. We gotta.
It's 4K, runs a bit smoother, and that's it. Oh, and it has HDR.
That's it.
It has
Okay.
HDR.
So yeah, the thing is
HDR,
that
okay.
it has of course lifelike detail. Oh shit! Oh god!
I like how it has all these like buzzwords, but all it does is have a higher resolution. Like
It's
it
just
doesn't.
a little bit better. It's just a little bit better.
Has better resolution and HDR. And actually, even the older an Xbox One and PlayStation 4, like the regular consoles, have HDR now. Really, all you're buying now is maybe not even a higher frame rate, unless it's a single player game.
Yeah, exactly.
But multiplayer games, at least.
But dude, that spatial audio though.
What?
Spatial audio.
They all have it.
I know.
They all have it. Ugh.
Wait
So
a second.
it's basically just paying for 4K, which if you
Seriously.
have a 4K TV and you really want it, maybe.
Hold on, guys. Go to the page and go all the way down to where it says the benefits of high dynamic range. I'm telling everybody this too, people who are listening to this. And then there's a little switch that says on and off, and it looks worse when you turn it on than when it's off, by the way.
I've been noticing that as well. HDR does not when they the problem is that a lot of these times where you like turn that on, it's trying to display HDR. This is my assumption.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to display HDR on a non-HDR screen, which I guess would just make it look worse. Otherwise, they would just always have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, seriously. It's supposed to. Is it supposed to make the shadows like crisper and stuff like that too? Like it's supposed to do some stuff to shadows and.
Yeah, it's basically just better contrast, natural contrast, not fake contrast.
Dude, that fake contrast though, I've been living with for years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think if you're in the mood for buying an Xbox, get the S. Don't really worry about the X right now.
Not at all. Wait for the next console generation, or if you really want, like, if you're in it, if you are that hardcore gamer it's trying to surf to that wants the best experience, go get a fucking PC.
Honestly, yeah. It's the same price as an Xbox One X, basically. If you want to get a nice gaming computer. Like
and then pay a little more and you get way better than an like
exactly.
The quality per cent is far better if you spend it on a PC than an Xbox One X.
So I'm not trying to say, don't get Xbox or PlayStation. They're both great consoles, but I'm just saying that their upgrade like their so-called next console is not a next console.
No.
It's just a graphics upgrade. It's way more expensive.
Right. And I wouldn't even. I'd say even that's like a little nice because it's a resolution upgrade.
Yeah.
It's not It doesn't. A graphics upgrade would be like when you get a new graphics card, you can afford to turn the graphics setting from normal to high or high to ultra,
or
like where you get better grass details and textures and shadows and render distance.
So like I can see what they're trying to go for, and like the only reason I would want to buy an Xbox One X would be if they were doing some kind of a deal. Let's say like they're being like, hey, if you have an Xbox One S, you can return it to us.
Yeah.
And you get this much off of your Xbox One X, because there's not that much difference between the two.
There isn't.
There seriously isn't. I mean, the same thing as the Slim, the PlayStation 4 Slim. It's just a little graphics upgrade. It's a little cheaper to get than the Xbox One X.
Do you mean the Pro? PlayStation 4 Pro?
Slim is just like the S for the Xbox.
Yeah, it's just what they're selling right now.
It's just like, so personally, just stick with the S and the Slim. Don't worry too much about looking into these new consoles. They're just trying to make extra money at this point. Just wait till they go on sale or whatever, or they release a new console.
Right.
That basically makes everything obsolete, because your games are still going to work on the S, or the Slim. It's not like they're making a console that doesn't work with anything that you own already. It's just a graphics upgrade, and I feel like I can understand when companies do that, because they want, games are being developed, with higher quality and.
Right, and I hear constant complaints from developers like, "Oh, like Escape from Tarkov. We don't think we're really going to be able to get it on PC because they're on console because consoles are so underpowered." And I get that. Like, I'd like some powerful consoles.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that this is like not powerful enough to be like, "Oh shit, this is like a big deal that we need to upgrade."
No, not at all. Yeah. So. What about you, Bailey?
I was about to say, Bailey's been real quiet.
Yeah, I don't really think we're there yet with the whole the high dynamic range and like having to worry about that more than
same with like VR.
Just like that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, where's like their VR? Like, I don't see that on the Xbox X page. But when I looked over on the PlayStation page for a couple $100 less for a PlayStation. The new one,
and then you can get a VR headset for it for really cheap, and then you can get
for the same price.
The PlayStation 4 Pro.
You could get the PlayStation Slim and the whole setup for VR, and it's the same price as just getting the Xbox One X. Again, I'm not trying to bash Xbox. I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing.
The deal is on PlayStation's side right now. For if the Xbox One X is what you're thinking, go for something else. Get a regular Xbox, get an Xbox and a PlayStation. That's probably what I'd recommend most.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm planning on getting a PlayStation. I have an Xbox One S, and I just want to get another one.
I know it's kind of hard for consoles to like boast about graphics when they're clearly outgunned by like PC.
Yeah,
like they should be like
I feel like they're
focusing on something else.
Exactly. This is like the Switch knows what we're doing, like what they're doing. Like, I want a console. I'm not paying for high graphics. I'm paying for good graphics.
Yeah.
With good gameplay.
Because I mean, I know some people like want to just get the next upgrade. I know people who just want to like buy the next thing.
Right.
And I feel like that's just what this is. That's what this is. Is just buying the next.
It's trying to appeal to those people that just don't have a PC, and I guess they don't want to jump into that yet.
Yeah.
But they have that mentality, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're willing to drop $500 for an Xbox X, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of money.
With,
Jeez, the same amount of money, man.
And I
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I've played both, and I've played an Xbox One X. I've played a PlayStation 4 Pro. They look the same, honestly.
As like their predecessors.
Yeah. And I've played in a PlayStation. I still own my PlayStation, not the fancy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fine. All right. I think that's a good wrap on Xbox One X. It's not attractive enough for a purchase right now.
The gaming community is just pissing me off.
Yeah.
I'm such a gamer now.
Unless you have $500 to drop.
Exactly. Then you can just get the newest console and be happy for the rest of your life.
Right.
And here's the crappy part too. With the Xbox One X, like, they're advertising new 4K, quality gaming. All the old games that you have that aren't made for 4K are going to look like crap.
Yeah.
So any of the new games that they're developing now are gonna like that's the only ones you're gonna want to buy. It's just
it's dumb.
Everything feels like a scheme, man.
It's all
everyone's
scheme.
out to get us.
Speaking of schemes and out to get us, good segue there.
God damn it! I didn't want to segue.
I don't like segues.
I don't like this segue.
Here we are. We're talking about loot boxes.
I'm not gonna start this off.
Wait, is there any way for us to have like some sort of like visual in the
on
near
this
future?
You mean, what do you mean?
I'm just googling stuff, man.
Like
I'm just pulling stuff
looking
up
at computer screens, or just like visual, like camera.
Or like at each other.
We can talk about it. We can talk about it after the recording.
Yeah, we'll talk about
but
that
let's
later.
use the minutes we have here.
Okay, let's segue back.
Segue back. Game gambling and loot boxes. I hate them in all respects.
I'm not starting this off. I don't want to talk.
It's like I don't even want to talk about.
Well, because
Eli and Bailey, Eli and I have already like kind of railed off on this, and I'm down to rail on it again.
I also railed on it from Halo 5 as well.
Right. So
wait, Halo 5 too? Wait, what?
Halo 5.
Yeah, Halo 5. Remember Halo 5 had loot cards things.
Yeah. You don't remember that?
You
can spend $100 and get extra fucking like packages.
Some packages.
Some. Not even like the best kind.
Yeah. Does anyone remember Halo Reach where you had to bust your ass for some armor?
Hell yeah, dude! I fucking busted my ass to get the best shit. That was the gaming. That's gaming at its best.
Yeah, when you see that
play a
person
game
with,
to
like,
get all the best stuff.
Lightning armor and like the big bulky armor, you're like, that guy. Yeah. He's played for a while.
Here's the thing: we're not talking necessarily about microtransactions because I've grown to learn that microtransactions aren't terrible.
Right.
It's mystery loot crates.
I hate those.
Can go fuck themselves, like personally.
So Bailey, what do you think?
I don't know. I just think it's really sad because I think like the number one reason is like gambling is probably. Isn't gambling illegal unless you're a certain age?
Yeah, gambling is illegal. The only time it isn't is when it's in the U.S. anyway.
Or you're 21 or over.
Right. The only time it isn't is when you're technically not on U.S. soil, and I guess Indian. I might be butchering this, but if I remember correctly,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Native American reservations, because they're not necessarily U.S. soil, that's why casinos are always run on that kind of property.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I just don't really think it's healthy for the.
No, it isn't, and I don't want it in my games.
I was really sad to hear. We could talk about Battlefront. I feel like that's the big debacle right now. And we can also talk about other games that have sort of adapted this.
So, Battlefront 2 obviously messed up. I don't think they did it right in any respect.
No, made me sad.
It made me sad for EA because I like a good amount of their games.
Right, but they're fucking up. They put a Need for Speed. Yeah,
bring it back.
The newest Need for Speed had loot boxes. Yeah. This has loot boxes.
Yep.
And like
Overwatch.
Both times they like kind of backpedaled. They're like shit. They backpedaled at the same time. Like when Battlefront got the backlash, Need for Speed was also getting backlash. So
everyone's like, all right.
Yeah, and it's clear that it's just a bad system because even when they pulled the microtransactions part from it, like once the game released and was out of all the betas, they pulled microtransactions. Microtransactions are no longer in the game. Like you can't pay for the loot boxes, but the loot boxes are still there and they're still tied to progression in the most convoluted system I've ever seen. That I won't even try to explain. It's that go look a whole Level Cap has a whole video explaining it, and even that you have to watch like twice over to understand. So go do that if you want to know what they're doing. Yeah,
Just like actual slot machines. Yay.
I don't know. Like I don't want to be in a like one of those old people that's like an elitist. Like, oh, back in my day it was better.
Yeah. No,
But
I
don't
totally
know.
agree with
Back
you.
when I played Call of Duty World at War or like Modern Warfare 2 or like fucking Halo Reach, like I had to fucking work for that shit and like actually got value out of it. And like anyone else who got anything, like it was like because he worked for it.
Right.
Exactly. And so that's the thing is that I feel like you're totally in the right to say that because it's not just young, it's not, we don't sound like old timers because basically people who have experienced games like that come from every generation, in my opinion. It's only just the past like 5 to 6 years that this has really just blown up. This whole like the whole loot crate and the microtransactions, because with the whole growing community of mobile phone or smartphones and on like mobile gaming,
mobile games started the microtransactions.
Yeah,
and then
and
kind of introduced
that,
loot boxes.
Yes, because with microtransactions, it would be like, oh, pay a couple extra dollars and get rid of ads or something like that. That's where I think it started. Right, is the whole ad debacle to get rid of something,
it's
and then
people thought
slope. It's
and then
dude,
and
it's
people
so
often
slippery.
say like and people are like when I think the biggest perpetrator is Overwatch. Overwatch just they made it okay to have loot boxes
because
and people will defend it.
Well, though.
It did do it well. That's the thing. I totally agree with you that loot boxes were done right, like mystery loot boxes, but the fact that AAA companies are like looking at the nowadays.
It made it
gamer.
okay, and it made it okay to move because that like okay that it's Overwatch made it that they weren't at the. It wasn't like okay, this is the limit and it was done well. It was like this is the new standard and it was done well. That's how everyone saw it, or at least how how companies saw that, and because that's the new standard. Companies are like, ooh, we can twist it a little more.
Extra casholas.
Let's have it tied to progression, and then it blows up in their face.
Exactly. When you tie stuff like that to progression in a game, you fucked yourself over. Just
seriously,
immediately. Because that's not a part of gaming. That's taking it the next step. That's like something that we might experience years down the line. But
yeah,
I hope not. I really hope not.
I'm kind of really glad that Battlefront, like, I'm both sad and happy that Battlefront 2 did that, because I'm mad that they did that because it ruined a really good game, but I'm glad they did it because they did it early. They did it way too, like, if they
light to the issues.
Yeah, they seriously did. They both did it with the biggest franchise, the biggest name, and they fucked it up.
They really did.
And badly. And it's so, like, now no one can look at loot boxes and loot crates and think, this is positive.
I mean, seriously. This is great. Like, that's why all these issues are coming up. Like, I'm personally now realizing, like, when Overwatch first came out, I personally was never really into it, but I noticed the whole loot crate system, and I was like, oh, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But then when Battlefront came out, it just became this huge deal, and I really reflected on me that, you know, games are changing because of the gaming community.
Definitely.
And people aren't necessarily speaking up about it, so when a AAA company just all of a sudden changes the way, like, changes the fucking basically the playing field,
right? And it did it so it wasn't like they did it like kind of a little bit, like, okay, maybe this line of progression things, like Halo had a bit of that. Halo was one of the ones that was like turning up the knob. They had it for they had mostly cosmetics, but then they had Warzone, if you remember. Warzone had a bit of progression tied loot boxes.
Just a little bit.
And there wasn't, people weren't up in, I mean, people complained about it, sure, but like the whole gaming community wasn't up in arms about it.
It was like, whatever. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
But when you tie, because
people still bought the game and played it. Yeah.
It's the fact that, okay, so here's the thing about microtransactions. Are we getting to the point where we should stop talking about this or no?
No, this was our last talk. Unless we want to talk about, we can talk about the Battlefield games if we want.
So I just want to, you know, bring to light that microtransactions and gambling loot boxes are totally different, even though they're in sort of the similar ballpark. So microtransactions, I don't have an issue with because it's cosmetic in a sense. Right. Or it's like just buying a weapon or a character. It's like you know what you're getting into, and you know you're putting money towards that. When you're putting money and like effort into something that is fucking random, that can fuck you over every time, it infuriates the gaming community. Right. Infuriates me.
And like, what I do like is people, if you have progression that is tied, like I think Titanfall does it best.
Yeah.
Titanfall has all in-game progression in terms of gameplay in the traditional sense. I still think cosmetics are part of gameplay. Jimquisition did a really good video on that. I would watch Jim Sterling's video.
He's pretty great. It's a great video.
He's pretty great. He has a video talking about why cosmetics are part of gameplay, and I pretty much agree with him there. But I get, like, Titanfall 2 has it where you can still, like, you upgrade regularly for all, like, guns and Titans and all that stuff. But you can buy certain skins, but outright. You buy them outright. You don't buy loot boxes.
Yeah.
And there's still the larger set of skins and colors and looks isn't tied to loot boxes. It's not necessarily, they're kind of a little more plain and more expected, but you can still recognize the people that did well and didn't buy their way to where they are.
Yeah.
And then you can immediately recognize people who did buy their way.
Those guys are posers.
Yeah, exactly. Which is fine. Like, whatever.
No,
if people, and I do that, and I don't see that as a poser. I see that trying to develop, they're trying to help a developer. Like, I would.
Yeah. It's supporting the game. It's supporting the people who created it and who are putting effort towards it. It's like getting a season pass for a game.
Right.
You're basically saying, I support this game company fully.
Keep making more.
And keep making more. I appreciate it.
Yeah. A lot of people have problems with DLC, and I know, like, people who, because we grew up with DLC, we don't see that as an issue.
Yeah.
And we don't see microtransaction as so much of an issue. Mm-hmm. You talk to an older generation that started with their 64s and
I started with 64.
Segas.
You call me old?
You started on the 64 when 64 was like out.
It's always interesting to hear that perspective of how people of that generation that's like, yeah, we didn't used to have DLC.
Yeah,
and then they're like, wait, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I'm talking like people who were playing their 64 when they were like teens.
Oh yeah, no, I was pretty young.
Like that was that was like their idea of gaming is the 64 and like the earlier games.
Yeah,
to them DLC is not so great. Like you have to pay this atrocious amount for some extra content
or something like that.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm paying for them to make more. Like they finished their product. So long as I got my finished product, if they're making more, I'm not gonna expect it for free.
Yeah.
As long as it's a finished product, wink, wink.
Yeah.
Which AAA titles are usually not. I was gonna say, I feel like personally, it has evolved from DLC going into microtransactions, and it's basically just been split up into little payments that you can make for little pieces of chunks of this DLC and everything. That's what I basically think it is.
Oh, the Nintendo does it really well. They have you buy amiibos to unlock certain stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Like little character stuff.
Yeah, you can get that.
Interesting.
I have one amiibo, and that was just for Super Smash Bros. That's it. What part of the system?
God, I want a Switch. Bailey has a Switch.
You have a Switch, dude?
I gave it to my girlfriend for Christmas.
No.
Fuck
Is
you.
it because you were done with the games?
I want a Switch so bad.
No, I'm still going to buy a Switch in the future. I was just... feeling gifty.
I was about to say.
I mean, anyways, Breath of the Wild was good. Just side note. I don't know if that's part of the
conversation.
And that's an example of like a classic game. That's what I want. I want solid games that I pay up front for.
If you want solid games, go Nintendo. Nintendo hasn't really been...
This is perfection.
They're fucking doing it. Nintendo is just rocking it in the corner. PlayStation or Sony and Microsoft are fucking butting heads so hard.
Right. And even like with Nintendo. Sony, I even am okay with like what Sony's doing. Sony's in-house games seem to not really have microtransactions. And like for example, just like I finished The Last Guardian earlier this year.
Great fucking game.
And I was like, after just getting soaked with like Destiny and Overwatch and all these like, and even Battlefield, all these like menu with all, even the single player games like Gears of War, or actually Gears of War isn't quite single player, but whatever. I think it's single player. But like all these games that have all these like the little tacked on things. The Last Guardian, their main menu looked like this. Continue. New game. Options. Credits.
Oh,
and I loved it.
Mic drop. Here's the thing. I would recommend. I know it's not on your list, but I would recommend people watch a game theorist video about the way that the gaming industry is changing, and because he explains it's changing like art.
Right.
Because how we went from the Renaissance era to the postmodern to the postmodern to what we now have today.
Right.
And it it evolved. So let's say Renaissance age is basically right now is the AAA title games. They're sticking to what they know, and they're just trying to focus on giving what gamers just want. Like, so people want microtransactions. Here's fucking microtransactions. But indie companies, I feel like, are trying to actually give what gamers want, which is a fun experience, and it like not necessarily indie
for
companies,
a reasonable
but smaller
price.
Companies. Exactly, for a reasonable price, you get a story, you get a wonderful game,
right?
And there's a lot more effort put into it. It's more meticulous, and it's more.
Indie is almost starting to mean like wholesome instead of actually independent.
Indie's becoming the new modern game. Right. That's the thing about it. And AAA titles are sadly slowly starting to die out.
Which
that's
sales.
That's a pretty big accusation. I'm not trying to say that they're going to die out, but I'm saying that they get more backlash.
Much like Marvel movies aren't ever going to die out, even if they're like really.
Dude, Disney's becoming this biggest fucking. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to talk about that, but they're becoming this huge monopoly. They just bought Fox and shit. Oh my god.
Yeah. Jeez.
Don't get me started. Well, that'll be for another conversation for another
podcast. I'm tempted to have you and Bailey Heinonen, just like not girl Bailey, like
Bailey
go at it. Go just have you guys set up on the mics and have your own podcast.
I was about to say I would fucking talk for hours about movies, dude. I should start a podcast. I shouldn't announce that on here, but that's a good idea.
Right. I mean, you're welcome to use my. It's not like I have a huge base of people that's like gonna help kickstart your thing.
I'm gonna take your fans.
Yeah, the fans I totally have. I have a couple. Yeah. I have a couple loyal ones. All right. Hopefully that'll change one day. So we're at 49 minutes. I think I'm gonna cut it there, unless.
Pretty good. I'm at 52, 53 now.
Yeah. Which is a good time to start it. It means we haven't gone over the hour mark, which is how I kind of want to keep it. Mm-hmm. People will get bored of what we're saying, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it's not possible.
How could anybody get bored of our conversations?
Right.
We have such luscious voices.
But we gotta learn to cut down these topics, and and for those that are still listening, I'd imagine once the quote-unquote podcast ends, of course, we'll still be here. And for those that are sticking around, you're welcome to, if you're already in the Discord and paying patron member, you could just chill out in the podcast chat, and we'll be talking anyway long after the podcast actually ends.
Long after.
Long after. We have nothing. We don't do anything with our lives.
Who are we kidding?
We're kidding with ourselves.
All right, that's it for today, guys. Make sure to, subscribe if you haven't. We have this podcast available for download over on SoundCloud, but we are uploading to both YouTube and to SoundCloud. Check us out for the next one. We'll be uploading soon.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next one.